Hello, my name's Leisha Lewis. Hello, my name's Leisha Lewis, and this is Hello, my name's Leisha Lewis, and this is my professional development presentation on differentiated instruction. For this assignment, we were asked to listen to some audio clips, or read some articles, and then describe what differentiating instruction was. So what is it? What's differentiating instruction? Well, basically to me, I believe it's the altering of teaching methods in order to reach all the students in the classroom. When you're teaching a class of kids, you have to think like it's not just one person you're teaching. It's many bodies. They're all different. They all learn in different ways. And as a teacher, we have to maximize how many of those students we're reaching. We need to be able to teach them on their numerous different levels also. Some may be gifted, some may be further behind and need help. And it's very rare that all your students will be on the same level. So throughout this instruction method, it's just to try to reach all those different levels and all those different students in the classroom setting. And how do teachers do this? How do they differentiate instruction in the classroom? Well, one way that you could do this is by using small groups. A teacher could break their students up by their like interests and their learning levels and pair them up and do different activities with each group that's more suited to their needs. For example, in the picture, we have 3 different learning styles that a teacher could use, say, for math. One is a lecturing style with the children with their hands raised at their desks. Another is computer games for a more visual learner. And at the bottom, we have a more hands-on style where the children are pairing blocks and matching numbers together. You have to get to know your children in the class. You have to know what works best for them and then pair them together in groups that get along, groups on the same level. And you want to make the lessons fun. You have to engage with the student. You have to reach the student so that they're not just bored. And these are all different ways that this type of learning can be used in the classroom. As I stated before, preparing to use differentiating instruction means knowing your students. This is key. So how do teachers prepare their students and their classrooms for differentiated instruction? Well, like I said, get to know your students. What are their likes and dislikes? Who likes math? Who doesn't? Who works well together? What learning level are they on? Who's a good reader? Who needs more help? You have to assess the children continuously and then pair them together according to those findings. And once you have your children paired into groups, the whole classroom should be a safe, supporting environment. No child should ever feel like they're left out or ostracized because they're on a different learning level than another child. No one should feel like they're not good enough to be in a certain group, or each group should be learning at their own pace. It's not about singling out people. It's about everybody learning at the same time, a blended learning, but everybody on their own level so that the learning is continuous. And in the groups, teachers are able to use a variety of different teaching methods. They can use learning games, activities. Maybe a student needs more one-on-one instruction, whereas a teacher could go around and do that separately. Differentiating instruction is the perfect blending of multiple learning styles. Like I said before, no one should ever feel like they are left out or put up on a pedestal because they are further ahead or more behind than the other students in their classroom. A child should each be learning at their own pace in whatever method deems them best. For example, if you look here in the picture that I've included, you see a number of different learning styles. Back here in the back, we have children in a group. Maybe they're reading together. Maybe they're discussing, doing some comprehension exercises. This child over here is on a tablet, as well as this one. Maybe they're playing learning games. They could do assessments by when they pass a learning game. It allows them to go on to the next level once they've mastered a concept. And this is one way that a teacher can keep track of assessments without actually having to go around to each student. And that gives the teacher more time, if you see her over here in the back, where she can do a little one-on-one maybe with a student that is a little further behind. Now these two in the front are working together and they have paperwork in front of them. They might be doing some kind of hands-on learning, like they have their game beside them that might go along with it. Say they're doing math problems, but they need to work theirs out with paper and pencil. And that's okay because everybody has a different learning style. And that's exactly what this is about. Everybody doing whatever style that they need to, all at the same time as a class, all learning at the same time, but in their own manner, in order that each child might grasp the concept that the teacher is trying to get across. In the next couple of slides, we were given a few examples of things that are not differentiated practices, and we were asked to explain why and then give an example of what the school could do instead to make it a better learning style. So for the first one, delivering instructions primarily on lecturing is not an example of a differentiated practice because, well, lecturing is one type of teaching method. That means it fits one type of learning style. This teacher in this picture is up front. She is lecturing her students. She is talking, they are listening and absorbing. Or maybe they're not absorbing because not every kid learns the same way. They're all different. Some kids may need that hands-on physical concept. Some may need visuals and pictures, and some might need more excitement just to stay engaged. I'm sure you've all seen on TV or even in your own classrooms in school, the kid in the back who's always sleeping. Kids need different things in order to engage and connect. So going back to the example of math, if this was a math teacher, instead, this teacher could do what she's doing here and show the kids how to do this on the board. Students, first we're going to do 4 plus 4 plus 4. And this equals 12. So then she would go around and she would give them all cubes. Could you guys take your cubes and put them together to make 12? So now they're getting physical and visual, and they had a lecture style. Then she could take it a step further and break these kids up into groups where they could use tablets to do math games that go back and assess these things. And then once the child has reached that math, maybe the game would open up another game where they would start doing subtraction. And then the ones who were still falling behind, she could go around one-on-one and do a little more personalized teaching with them. The next example we were given was grouping students based on their past achievement scores does not show their current standing. Well, we know that this is false because students need continual assessments. Who's to say that those children remembered and retained the information they learned last year and that they would achieve the same scores had they been tested again? Or what if it was the reverse? What if those children learned more over the summer and they were way further ahead than their peers that they were previously grouped with? For example, let's take a student in reading. Perhaps this student was always placed in the highest reading group. They were tested. If we did not do further assessment, we might not know that this student who, yes, can read very fast and can go through big books like no problem, isn't comprehending anything. So this student now needs to be taken out of that group and put in a different group where they're going to get more one-on-one practice or maybe a visual with pictures showing them what is going on in the story so that they can learn to comprehend what they're reading. Students need to be assessed to make sure that they're receiving the information and in turn can use that information. Our last example is giving bonus points or rewards for classroom participation is also not an example of differentiated instruction. So say we're in the classroom and a teacher is passing out bonus points to all of the kids who are participating. All of them but say 2. You got 2 kids in the back, they're goofing off, one's sleeping. They're not getting any bonus points at all. Now think about it, maybe that student is not participating because simply they don't understand what the teacher is teaching. Or maybe they're shy and they don't want to speak up because they think they might get the answer wrong. That is why this is not differentiated instruction. All these children are not being reached. The only ones that are thriving from this are the ones that are pertinent to that learning style. Say the teacher's lecturing, these are the children that are really good at receiving information from lectures. These are the ones that are going to get the bonus points. and the other students that don't receive anything in turn are going to be negatively affected, which brings down their self-esteem, and then next time they're going to be even more apt to not try to raise their hand and guess because of the wall that has been put up there. Instead, this teacher in the same situation could divide her children up into groups. She could put them in order of like my top readers, my middle readers, my readers on the lower end, and give them all books that coincide with their reading levels. Then, once each group is done with their book or their project, she could award that group bonus points because they've completed their individualized assignments. Therefore, knowing that these kids did participate because they were able to participate, they understood the lesson, it was geared toward them, and they were able to give their input on it. In summary, I feel that differentiating instruction is very important to the classroom. It's something I had never heard of, but now I feel that it's pertinent to have because every student does learn different. Every student has a different learning style, and as a teacher, we need to be able to reach each of those students and help them get to their max potential. Thank you.